So what is Linux? Linux is a Unix-like operating system kernel developed and released in 1992 by Linus Torvalds, a Finnish student, as a personal project. Since its release, the kernel has been under active development. The kernel was released under the GNU Public License, which provides anyone the right to study, modify, and redistribute the code of the kernel freely. The latest stable release of the kernel is 5.7.1 at the time of this session. For all recent and long-term releases, you can visit kernel.org, Linux kernel's official website. To the right, you can see Tux, Linux's official mascot. Also, the Linux kernel was originally named as Freaks by Linus Torvalds. Later, however, it was renamed to Linux. Wait a minute. I've been using the term kernel without actually defining what it exactly is, so some of you might not know what a kernel is. A kernel basically is the core part of an operating system. During the startup or the boot process, the first thing that loads into the memory is the kernel. It is complete control over all aspects of the operating system, and it facilitates software-hardware interaction. Kernels are designed to be as light as possible so that they don't occupy much RAM and load faster into the memory. But since Linux is a kernel, why does everyone call it a Linux operating system or Linux OS? To answer this, we'll take a look at the GNU project, which was initiated on September 27, 1983 by Richard Stallman. Before I start talking about the GNU project, I'll first explain what free and open source software is. Unlike proprietary software, free open source software is community based. That is, it is developed by the people for the people. You could say that anyone is free to modify, study, redistribute, or use the software any way they want. The term free in free open source software doesn't necessarily mean that the software is free of cost. The free in free open source software means freedom to distribute, modify, study the source code, change it, use it however you want to. As the name suggests, the source code of free open source software is published online and available for anyone to view or download. So now coming back to the GNU project. The GNU project is essentially a free software mass collaboration project initiated by Richard Stallman, like I said before. Its goal is to give computer users freedom over their computers and computing devices by developing community-based software that is free to run, copy, distribute, study, and modify. GNU software grants these rights in its GNU Public License (GPL). The Linux kernel is also published under the GPL license. To the right, you can see the GNU mascot.